Hey guys, Jay here. Welcome to Models Memories Weekly, episode 104. Models Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where I talk about painting, modeling, and wargaming experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 YouTube videos a week. How could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. There is lots and lots and lots to get into this week, and Games Workshop's probably going to show off even more stuff next week, because next week is Adepticon. I'm going to be there every single day, so keep your eyes out for me, although you probably won't see me because I am super short, so you won't see me over the crowd, but I'll be there. And speaking of being there, Games Workshop has shown off some new Contemptor Dreadnought bodies. Perfect segue. A few weeks ago, Games Workshop purged all of the unique Legion Contemptor Dreadnought bodies off of the website, which a little bit broke my heart. Even though I wasn't gonna buy like most of them, because there's like 18, I was kind of hoping to pick up the Imperial Fist Contemptor Dreadnought, because it had a couple of Templar symbols on it. But Games Workshop has sneakily created Contemptor Dreadnought upgrade parts, which is just the torso of each one of those Contemptor Dreadnoughts. So now you can get just the torso, and you're meant to glue that in place of the plastic Contemptor Dreadnought torso, which I suppose gets you like 85-90% of the coolness factor of the Legion-specific Contemptor Dreadnoughts. Although there was some really cool stuff going on the shoulders, on the legs, on the crotch. Like, Games Workshop really decked out these miniatures, and it's a little sad to see all of those details go. I mean, granted, the torso was the juice. It was most of the fun, cool aspects of those models, but I would like to have some of those crotch details back. It would be nice. Hopefully, they definitely don't, but hopefully these upgrade packs will come with the crotch piece so that you can glue that onto your Contemptor and you can really get something that looks nice and spicy, but what are you gonna do? Also, Games Workshop isn't saying in this article that these are the regular old Contemptor bodies that were available to purchase for years and years. They're calling them new Contemptor Dreadnought upgrade frames. They sort of are, because they've never been available in this exact form factor, but they're definitely not like a new unique thing. It's good to have all of these options available again, because some of them are really cool, like the Night Lords and the White Scars, which doesn't look like it's going to be available for a little bit, but I don't know why. But the White Scars one is really cool. Blood Angels one is awesome. The other ones are all kind of like decent, but they kind of look a little bit more to me like decent kit bashes that people have done, as opposed to like really unique, like Forge World made from the Heresy itself upgrade packs. So I guess we'll see, but it is a fun little thing that Games Workshop has done. I suppose it makes a lot of sense, especially because they were coming out with all of these different Legion-specific heads and stuff, so it makes sense to have Legion-specific Contemptor Dreadnought upgrade bits, but I am gonna miss some of those original, like, super cool Contemptor Dreadnoughts that were Legion-specific. I don't know if I'll ever play 30k. In fact, I almost certainly won't, because I already have so many Space Marines. Maybe I'll play 30k with just my Black Templars and I'll just proxy everything. But if I was to pick a 30k Legion, man, would it have to be something that does not wear black armor. I paint so much black armor. Oh, it's a problem. So I would probably want to pick something really different, like White Scars. I always hear that white is an absolute joy of a color to paint with, so I think a White Scars army would be lovely. And speaking of things that are lovely, Games Workshop has had another Warhammer 40k legend pass the Rubicon Primaris in Lord Commander Dante of the Blood Angels. The old Commander Dante was an absolute fan favorite amongst Blood Angels players, and it is a really good looking old Finecast miniature. Well, originally it was made out of pewter, but then it was made into Finecast, and now you can actually get a decent looking plastic one, but it always happens is the old miniature looks really good. And then you see the new plastic, and the new plastic is just better in every single way. The Sanguinary Guard are one of the coolest things in the Blood Angels. They're jump pack Space Marines who wear gilded armor that is sculpted to look like a perfect Greek statue covered in gold leaf. Is that cool? I think it's pretty cool. But they're a really unique thing to the Blood Angels, and it looks so good in an army with a sea of red, a couple of blue Devastator helmets, a couple of gold Captain helmets, and then just this big squad of gilded gold jump pack guys with big angelic wings. They look really cool, and Dante wears very similar armor, very form-fitting. It really shows off his physique. And the new miniature is really, really interesting and probably gives us a little bit of foresight into what 10th edition is going to bring. One struggle that both Commander Dante's models have is that they're kind of meant to be flying through the air, but it's impossible to have something flying through the air without having some sort of an attachment point to the base. And I'm glad they didn't go with the clear flying stand, because clear flying stands look really, really awkward, especially when the flying stand is going right up into their butts. It's just weird. But I don't know if either model perfectly pulls off the jumping through the air look. The old model just kind of had one of his little tiptoes on the ground in a little bit of maybe a ballet pose, where the new model, if you just kind of put your hand over the rock, it looks like he's just coming down for a big chop with that axe. But then when you take your hand away and you look at the little rubble that he is kind of precariously perched upon, it does look a little awkward. I think if I were to get this model, I would definitely want to saw that off and then add my own sort of rubble. Or, man, flying models are always really, really tricky. It might not be a bad idea to have the flying stand actually attached to his foot. That wouldn't look nearly as awkward as the flying stand going somewhere else. But other than that, to actually get into the miniature, which is painted very, very well. The heavy metal team, it's always interesting what they pick and choose, because nobody is pulling off that beautifully painted non-metallic metal gold all over his body. It is immaculate and very, very, very challenging to paint. It'd be really funny if they had this one and then the same model painted with Games Workshop contrast paint, which I know a lot of people can use contrast paint really, really well, but man, can I not get contrast paint to look good on Space Marines. It always dries really, really patchy. I have to use humongous brushes to get the paint on as fast as I possibly can so that it doesn't start to pool or coffee stain on me. Army Painter speed paints I have had far, far more success with. They have a lovely long drying time. It's not a long time, but it's long enough that I can really take my time and get everything perfect in one coat. Where contrast paint I just really struggle with, particularly on Space Marines with those lots and lots of big open areas where Gene Stealer Cult or something that has a lot of really small crunchy details all over them seem to work out just fine. But I don't know, I just have a hard time with contrast paint. And holy cow, could contrast paint not paint this armor of Commander Dante. It might be able to get the process started, but holy cow, they did a very, very nice job painting it. His muscles and physique look really, really, really good. I love his weapons. I really like what they did with the little dick tabard. It's kind of curling in and it's kind of helping the pose quite a bit. But the thing I really want to talk about is the jump pack. We got a little bit of a giveaway of what the 10th edition jump pack is going to look like. The Primaris Call pattern Mark 10 Tacticus pattern jump pack is going to look like from the teasers for the game Space Marine 2, where you actually see Captain Titus wearing it. But I think it looks really, really good. Now, the old jump pack actually looks phenomenal on Primaris Space Marines, and it's just because they're upscaled just a little bit. The jump packs have always been so hilariously too big that they actually look really good on Primaris Space Marines. So depending on what Games Workshop does when they release 10th edition, and almost certainly it'll come with jump pack Primaris Space Marines, I might be tempted to just go buy the $8 for 5 jump packs from Games Workshop's web store. Hopefully they still sell them later on this year, and then put those on Primaris Space Marines. But I like the new jump pack a lot. I think it looks really, really good. I like that it's got these little kind of wings that probably help it to actually maneuver, because the old jump pack was literally like the orcs as a joke. Their jump pack guys have fireworks attached to the back of them. I mean, there's a little joystick that's maybe some semblance of control, but the Space Marine jump pack has always literally just been rockets pointed at the ground that makes them just jump forward. But in the lore, they can really maneuver and they can kind of Tinkerbell their way across the battlefield. Where at least with this, there's some semblance of reality with these little jets and wings that can move around and hopefully help them get from point A to point B. But I do think the new jump pack looks really, really nice. I think it's good. I think it's nicely proportioned to the miniature. It does look a little bit hidden behind Dante because he's doing a little bit of a T pose. But I like it. I like the new jump pack. I could see it looking really, really nice on a squad of Space Marines. And it'll be interesting when we finally get jump pack Primaris Space Marines. Are they going to be in the sneaky armor, or are they going to be in the regular armor? Because the sneaky armor would almost make sense. It's a lot less bulky, and if you wanted to fly, you'd probably want to be less bulky. But classic Space Marine jump pack guys have always been in the big old ridiculous Space Marine armor and zipping across the battlefield like nobody's business. I actually have probably 30 Space Marines wearing jump packs right now, mostly because my original Black Templar Crusader squads performed so unbelievably miserably in game for years that I actually ripped off all their backpacks and glued on jump packs to turn them into Assault Marines so that they could maybe do some business on the battlefield. But Commander Dante looks exceptional, and it's fun that they're showing him off right now, which means that they're going to have other things to show off next week at Adepticon. So I am very excited to see what that is. Almost certainly it's going to be Warhammer 40k 10th edition, although I sort of don't want it to be. I'll get into that a little bit later. The big thing, in my opinion, that Games Workshop showed off, once again, they're showing off just the tiniest little tidbit of Warhammer the Old World. And it's Warhammer the Old World feels like it's not actually happening. They've been teasing it since 2019, and it just doesn't feel real yet. They haven't released any real artwork, any lore, any explanation of what's really happening other than there will be plastic kits and they will be on square bases. But other than that, we know absolutely nothing. And Games Workshop has shown off some bits. We have some Bretonnian Knights shields, heads, and weapons, and some Tomb Kings shields, weapons, and some little scarabee dudes. And these are very clearly kind of early in the process, because there's a lot of things that Games Workshop would not allow on plastic miniatures, and it says in this article that these are renderings for things that will be on plastic miniatures. Right now, they're kind of rendered in Forge World resin, if that makes any sense. So I kind of expected these to be Forge World, but it says in the article, these will be for Games Workshop plastic kits. One thing that is very interesting is the Bretonnian Knights seem to have oval pegs. And so it'll be interesting to see if they do something really modular with Old World, or it could be that just that peg is something that they just do when they're designing bits, and that'll be later turned into whatever connection point they're gonna use for the actual miniatures. Typically with Games Workshop, arms are just flat surface to flat surface. They're not usually pegged on plastic miniatures because they don't really need to be. And then for the Tomb Kings, it looks like they've actually maybe moved a little bit further into the design process, because we do have some like splits in their wrists, which is what Games Workshop does for teeny tiny miniature connections, where they'll like kind of cut an arm in half and have half attached to the gun and half attached to the body so that you have a lot more surface to glue together. And then there's tons of things that Games Workshop just wouldn't allow on a plastic miniature. Like if you look at the Tomb King's flail, there's a lot of air in between the three little chains. If Games Workshop is turning that into a plastic kit, they would just fill in all of that negative space so that it wouldn't be a disaster. So clearly these are early in the process. And I mean, the Games Workshop hasn't shown off anything for this game yet, which I'm 100% sure that this game is at least 2 years out still, because this year is going to be Warhammer 40k 10th edition. Games Workshop's not going to want a new game to compete with sales for Warhammer 10th edition. And then next year is almost certainly going to be Age of Sigmar 4. So once again, they're probably not going to want to come out with a fantasy game that does any competition with their other game, Age of Sigmar. They want their customers to buy the most possible stuff, and so they probably don't want to get anybody mixed up and spending their money on one game, which stops them from spending money on another game. So I would expect like 2025 is the first year where we can maybe start to hope for Old World. Although, is anybody out there really, really hopeful for Old World? Like, isn't it really awkward? It really hasn't been that long. 2015 is when the game died. And now it's been 7 years and we might be getting the game back, sort of. It's really, really awkward. I think in one of these articles, because Games Workshop has done this a couple of times where they've shown off some kind of rough renderings and said, hey, Old World, don't forget. But is anybody really that excited for Old World? I think that this game might actually flop. Games Workshop killed Warhammer Fantasy Battles in 2015, and then the next year, 2016, Total War Warhammer came out and was a huge, crazy smash hit. And I wonder if Games Workshop thought that, oh, look at that, the video game did really good, so maybe the game still has some legs, so we should just get right back into doing some Old World stuff. And then in 2019, they said, for sure, we are doing it, but isn't it really kind of awkward? Like, they haven't waited so long that they're bringing back a beloved classic, and they're not doing it so quickly that they can kind of just pretend like nothing happened and just move on. Like, it's a weird thing to do to bring back this game. And so many of the factions for Age of Sigmar are either identical or ripoffs of their old fantasy counterparts. It's really, really awkward. Is there room in 2025 for a Tolkien-esque rank and flank battle game? I don't know. It's really awkward. I know that Warhammer Fantasy Battles has an incredibly loyal fan base because almost every single day we get comments saying like, Warhammer Fantasy Battles is 100 billion quadrillion times better than all other games that have ever existed. But man, I am very, very skeptical of Warhammer the Old World. And just a random article with almost no information in it and some renderings that don't even look that good is not getting me hyped for this game and is not really putting any of my fears to bed on if this game is gonna exist or not, or really be good or not. It's very, very odd. I mean, just go look at like all of the different Patreons or our Patreon, where you can see beautiful renderings that really show off the stuff that you're gonna get. Where here, I mean, they just yanked those suckers right off of whatever they used to edit in and made them, added a gray to them. It's really, really weird. Old World is very, very confusing to me. Let me know in the comments what you think of Old World. Are you excited for it? Like, I'm not. I don't know. I really like Warhammer. I really like Age of Sigmar. And if I really, really want some rank and flank, Conquest, Last Argument of Kings, or CLAC, as it is officially known, is really, really fun and very different to Warhammer, where Warhammer is kind of exactly the same as Age of Sigmar, so I don't know, it's really awkward. And speaking of really awkward and Games Workshop showed off a bunch of new Boarding Patrol boxes, and they made the other Boarding Patrol boxes that they have shown off available for pre-order, and the prices are kind of all over the place. And it's really weird and awkward. Usually like with like Combat Patrols or Start Collectings or all of these doubles boxes, they're all like similarly priced. So it's really weird to just have different prices for products. So I thought, well, maybe the percentages are the same. Maybe it's the same sort of deal and Games Workshop just kind of moved that final price around because some armies are a little bit more expensive or some kits that come in the box are a little bit more expensive than the other ones. So I did the math. And the math doesn't add up. Genestealer Cult, retail $202, savings $77. Okay, that makes sense. Demons, retail $200, savings $70. That makes sense. Adeptus Mechanicus, retail is $215 with a savings of $75. Makes perfect sense. Death Guard, retail $205, savings of $90 because they only charged $115 for that boarding action. So for whatever reason, you're getting like an extra $20 savings on the Death Guard box, which I do think is fair because in that Death Guard box is the horrible little 3 extra Death Guard Plague Marines that Games Workshop somehow charges $45 for, which is kind of an annoying kit. And I almost wonder if it's included just to try to get it out of their warehouse because it's just 3 Death Guard. Nobody's buying 3 Death Guards so they can take a full squad of 10. Like it's worth it. It's more worth it to just buy another $60 box of Death Guard and then take the 3 out of there, and then you're still left with 5. Like, it actually works out. Where, yeah, Death Guard box is $90 savings. But Chaos Space Marine boarding action, retail would be $235 to buy all those things separately for a savings of $105. So for whatever reason, Chaos Space Marines has a much better savings than all of the other boxes. So probably because the 10 cultists somehow cost $50 when they probably should be in the $35 to $40 range because they're just piddly little humans. They're probably not worth $10 less than a box of Chaos Space Marines. So I do not understand Games Workshop's pricing schemes, and I do not know what these boxes are going to cost. It is very awkward. It is very confusing. And I do not know what to make of it. Maybe if I did the math in a different currency, like the UK currency, maybe it would have made more sense, but I don't know. It seems so random and weird to just literally make up random prices for these boxes. And maybe behind the scenes, Games Workshop has like a true value for each product and they do their pricing based on that because each box does not actually cost what like we purchase it for. Like, a Rhino doesn't actually cost $45 and Space Marines cost $65, but they're nearly identical amounts of plastic, and then there's the shipping cost of a Rhino box is physically larger than a Space Marine box. So there probably is some sort of a true value for each box that Games Workshop factors in, but that's really on their end, not on our end. It's very awkward, it's very confusing, but now that I'm looking at these new boxes, I have absolutely no earthly idea what Games Workshop is going to charge for these. However, for some of these, it should be a lot less. The Sisters of Battle box comes with 10 Battle Sisters, 10 Repentia, a Canoness, and the fan favorite Celestial Sacrosaints. It is a very, very nice box, a very nice addition to the current Combat Patrol available. And the Sisters of Battle Combat Patrol is a really interesting one because it's actually built out of monopose models that they made to like tease people with way back when they actually came out with their Sisters of Battle refresh. But this box is full of true multi-part plastic kits, some of the best that Games Workshop has ever made. I love the Sisters of Battle miniatures, and they're certainly the most 40K of all of the factions. They are grim, dark, gothic. Like, a lot of people are really frustrated that the new Primaris Space Marines aren't very grim, dark, gothic. Space Marines have never, ever been grim and gothic. Maybe the Dark Angels a little bit, but the Sisters of Battle are walking churches. Like, they are absolutely ridiculous, and this box is very nice. Moving on to Boarding Patrol Adeptus Custodes, you get 5 Custodes, 3 Aurelian Terminators, and the Captain General. And it is a tiny, tiny 9 miniatures. It is not very much stuff, and I get that it's still a deal. If you were to purchase all these stuff separately, this box, this just gathering of these boxes is cheaper. But man, would I not feel good about spending between $115 and $140 on this box, because Games Workshop doesn't know how to price things. I would not feel good spending that much money on 9 dudes. It just doesn't feel good. They probably should have thrown in some Sisters of Silence just to pad it out a little bit. But it is perfectly fine. It is a deal. It is a discount, and Adeptus Custodes are cool, but it just feels wrong. 9 miniatures for at minimum $115. I guess $110 because that's what the Space Marine came out for, which just adds even more weirdness into the pricing structure of these boxes. And then to finish it off, and to finish this weirdness off, we've got Boarding Patrol 1000 Suns. 20 Rubric Marines, love it, fantastic. Somehow no Rubric Marines come in the actual Combat Patrol. It's only Zangors and Scarab Cult Terminators, which, like, Rubric Marines are the army, so it's really weird for those not to come in the box. But Games Workshop seems to have rectified that by making this practically all Space Marines. So that's really nice to see. The weird thing is right in the middle of this force, we have 2 of the ancient Chaos Spawn. Now, to be fair, the Chaos Spawn box still looks really, really good, and it looks like a great time because you get 2 bodies and then you get just tons of arms and tentacles and spikes, and you can really make them your own. So it's a really fun kit. But man, that might be the oldest model that Games Workshop has roped into one of these boxes in a very, very long time. That is a very old kit. And I mean, the Rubric Marines aren't brand spanking new, but man, that model, the Chaos Spawn, is probably like 2000, pre-2010. Like, it's old. So it is. But you know what? It does make perfect sense for Tzeentch. Although I would have liked to have seen like Ahriman or one of the unique characters. Ooh, maybe the 3 Exalted Cultists or the 3 Exalted Sorcerers. Like, they may have made a little bit more sense than Chaos Spawn. Although I don't know that much about the boarding actions rules, so maybe the Chaos Spawn adds a really, really nice unit, like something big and beefy, tough and fast that can do a lot of work inside of the close confines of the Space Hulks or whatever spaceships these are. Sisters of Battle box, I love it. It's about $220 worth of stuff. Whatever Games Workshop sells it for is going to be a pretty good deal. And it's right alongside all of the other boxes in terms of how much stuff, the monetary value of stuff you get in each box. However, the Custodes box only retails out to $165. So even if they only charge $110, the savings is nowhere near any of the other boxes. And very similarly with the 1000 Suns, the 1000 Suns only retails out to $175 a product. So once again, it'll be interesting to see what Games Workshop actually charges for those. Are they gonna go like even lower? Like, are they going to be like $100 even for those boxes because they just don't come with nearly as much stuff as a lot of the other boxes do? I don't know, it's very weird. These boarding boxes, it seems like Games Workshop is going to be doing one for every single faction for 40K, which is nice because there aren't combat patrols for every single faction. So these boarding patrols are nice, although they are limited. Games Workshop is making a certain number of them, and when they sell out, they're gone. So I don't know, I kind of like them. The only one I'm really excited for is the Orc Combat Patrol because it comes with only models that I don't have, and so I really want to get it. But other than that, I think that all of these boxes are perfectly fine, and if you see one of these boxes and you want every single thing that comes in that box, every single one of them, then I think it is worthwhile pickup. But other than that, probably don't. This has been a lot of weirdness and wonkiness from Games Workshop, but we did get an interesting tease for more to come. Games Workshop put out a teaser trailer for something just called Warhammer, and it is some sort of a Tyranid face, and reflected in the buggy eyeball of that Tyranid is a classic Terminator. So classic, in fact, that I'm pretty sure it just is a Terminator, like a drawing of a Terminator from the old 5th edition book. Or rather, probably not the 5th edition, maybe the 6th edition when they were doing like really nice pencil work. Not the new ones where it's all digital. But a lot of people have been saying in like the comments on like Instagram and Facebook and stuff that you can tell it's a Tyranid warrior. I don't believe you can tell it's a Tyranid warrior. It has these weird little cheek spikes that warriors don't have. Actually, none of the Tyranids have cheek spikes like that. Sometimes they're represented like that in artwork, but I think that this is just generic Tyranid face, and it really could represent pretty much anything, at least any of the Tyranids that have eyes. And it does have a neck, which actually does factor out a fair few Tyranid biomorphs, but it says that this is a teaser for Warhammer 40K. So it is almost certainly teasing Warhammer 40K 10th edition because that is the big exciting thing coming to Warhammer 40K this year. However, I really hope that this is secretly for Kill Team. Probably not because it says it's for Warhammer, but I really hope it's for Kill Team because I am excited for the final installment of this season of Kill Team, Gallo Fall, which is almost certainly the Gallo Dark Space Hulk being ripped apart or absolutely destroyed. But I really want Blood Angels, Assault Terminators versus brand new Gene Stealers. That would be my absolute dream. It would be Space Hulk finally back. I love Space Hulk so much. I've played every single mission. I absolutely adore Space Hulk. I tried to buy one on eBay a couple weeks ago and it got sniped from me because I wasn't paying attention. I love Space Hulk and I would absolutely love Space Hulk to come to Kill Team. And this teaser is very similar to Space Hulk. It's Terminators versus probably Gene Stealers because it's always Gene Stealers with the Tyranid. It's always them. But it is almost certainly 40K 10th edition, especially since all of the rumors are saying that it's going to be Blood Angels, Space Marines versus Tyranids. It better be new Gene Stealers because holy cow are the Gene Stealers horribly old at this point. I have 30 Gene Stealers and it's taken a calculable percentage of my life to clean all the mold lines off of all of their horrible little arms. I would love an actual real plastic kit. And literally Games Workshop has the STLs ready to rock and roll. Like they made beautifully sculpted plastic Gene Stealers for the 2016 release of Space Hulk. They made beautiful plastic Gene Stealers for Deathwatch Overkill. And somehow those have just sat on a hard drive for like the past 5 or 6 years, just being not used while Games Workshop reuses the original hand sculpted plastic pieces. It's ridiculousness. Please, Games Workshop, Gallo Fall. Let it be Space Hulk. Let it be Blood Angels Assault Terminators versus the Gene Stealers. Blood Angels Assault Terminators would work so beautifully as a kill team. You get one extra frame, let that be upgrades to make one of them the Librarian, and then a couple of Storm Bolters and an Assault Cannon, maybe a Heavy Flamer. Let everybody else take like the Lightning Claws, the Thunderhammer Power Fist. Like it would, and then you got the Teleport Homer. Stick that little sucker on a 25mm base and let it be its own little token to use in the game so you can teleport your guys around the Gallo Dark. Like, how perfect would that be? You start the game, you capture an objective, you throw your Teleport Homer on that objective, and then you move out to go do other things. and then all of a sudden you can spend a command point to suck a guy right back to that teleport homer, it would play so well. I would love a really, really unique and really interesting, like, super small kill team. I've played Custodes, it's a 4-man kill team, and it plays really, really well. I think 5 Terminators, there's ways to make 5 Terminators work really well. I want to see it, I want it to happen, and I'm getting so excited and it's not happening. It's going to be a tease for Warhammer 40k 10th edition, not for Kill Team. I am excited to see what they do with Kill Team, but my hopes are set so high, there's no way they're not going to be dashed by whatever it comes out as. Is there anything that they could do that I would like as much as my idea? It's probably going to be some human team versus, I don't know, Eldar again? I don't know. They're probably not going to do Eldar again because they just did the Eldar. And the Eldar aren't phenomenal in Kill Team. They're fine. They're good. The Dark Eldar and the Piratical Eldar, they play decently, but I don't know. Elves are just not my playstyle. Weak bodies, fast movement, decent guns and swords is just not that cool to me. If I had to make a real guess of what the final box is going to be, I would expect it to be like Leagues of Votann because they haven't come to Kill Team yet, and I don't know, something else that's kind of on the boring side. But man, Games Workshop, if you want to make me really, really happy, Blood Angels Assault Terminators with Gene Stealers, make it happen! Gallo, fall! I want to see that Space Hulk fallen full of Tyranids. It would bring a tear to my eye. It would make me so happy. You know what? I would forgive you for how lame Old World is if you make the final box my idea. Nothing cooler than spaceships. And you know what else is super cool? That's right, our Patreon. Over there, we make new STL terrain packs every single month, and this month we have the Starship Bridge, a super modular, grim, dark, gothic control room full of stained glass windows. Perfect for all your favorite war games like Kill Team and Warhammer 40,000 or anything else you can think of. I would love to see some Age of Sigmar played on the command deck of a spaceship. We also make one extra episode of Eon's Battle every single week where we take a look at our viewers' miniatures and give some ideas or critiques of how to improve their painting. We host live Discord hangouts, and we have a tier where you can get your name on one of my Black Templar Space Marines and you can join the Immortal Crusade. Weird and wacky week from Games Workshop. A lot of confusion, a lot of odd things going on. I am still completely perplexed by their pricing scheme for these new boarding action boxes, although I probably still am going to buy the Orc one. Thanks for watching.